I don't know how much longer I can stand watching well-educated Canadian people who have gained a following here and there say things like, why would the public health authorities make this rule about vaccines? It makes no sense. Why, when their own data shows that blah, 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 would they do XYZ? I'm really sick of it. Because they will not look at the answer. The answer is that predatory vaccine companies, pharmaceutical companies, and philanthropicapitalists, eugenicists that are obsessed with population reduction are running the entire global health paradigm. They've captured all the agencies. If they aren't blackmailing people, they've brainwashed people. This is just the facts. And for these smart, educated medical professionals who've gained a voice in this whole thing, to keep running around this same hamster wheel since the beginning of the pandemic without looking at the players involved ever, it's making me insane. It's making me mistrust even the doctors who are on our own side, quote unquote, on our own side. Because either they are stupid or they're in on it at this point. I can't take it anymore. All right, I tried to bring their attention to the Brighton collaboration scam, because now the Brighton collaboration is actually run by CEPI, and CEPI is actually run by 6 pharmaceutical companies. CEPI is the Brighton collaboration. The Brighton collaboration are the ones who set the global standards for how to assess an adverse vaccine reaction. Okay? This is mega huge. These fools just want to keep talking about case counts based on the phony PCR test. Come on. All right. In today's video, I'm going to pull some threads on stuff I already introduced you, my viewers, to a little while back, which is the Brighton collaboration and CEPI. I proved the connections between these two entities in this video here. Boom, vax exemption hijackers exposed. But just to remind you, here it is. From the World Health Organization website, the Brighton collaboration has been funded by a variety of scientific and public health organizations throughout its history, but they're now currently funded by the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation to specifically focus on developing vaccine safety protocols for emerging vaccines. And I showed you that the Task Force for Global Health is funded by all the predatory companies and all the predatory NGOs. I showed you all of it. And today I'm going to show you how one of those guys, just one, that's involved in the expert panel on the Brighton collaboration to assess and define vaccine adverse events, I'm going to show you all his connections and where the threads led me. I'm going to show you, it is just one guy. One guy. All right, his name is Fernando Pollack. And the reason I focused on him is because in this publication from May 2021 in Vaccine Magazine, this is one of the things that the Brighton collaboration was doing. It was creating a definition for vaccine-associated enhanced disease. All right? And right here in the abstract, it says that this case definition was developed by a group of experts convened by the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, CEPI. The very definition of vaccine-associated enhanced disease is set by Pfizer, Takeda, Sanofi, J&J, Merck, GlaxoSmithKline, Bill and Melinda Gates, Wellcome Trust, World Economic Forum, and these governments. So I was looking at this paper, and even that was unbelievable. But then you scroll down to the Declaration of Competing Interests. This is conflict of interest. This is the declaration of the authors of this paper for their conflicts of interest. And I went over these last time, but the one I'm focusing on today is on the second page. F. Pollack. F. Pollack is an investigator in the Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine trial. Am I making myself clear? Pfizer has a man on the inside. Knowing that, is it any surprise that the other day, September 30th, our health officials came out and said they recommended Pfizer over Moderna? Oh, it was everywhere. It was all over the news. They recommend Pfizer over Moderna. Guess why? And not only is F. Pollack an investigator in Pfizer's COVID vaccine trial, he is the lead researcher. Says right here in this New York Times piece from September 30th, 2020. The lead researcher in Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine trial. Here's an article from Argentina, I think. Coronavirus vaccine. Argentina will have a privileged place for distribution because it was chosen for the trials. This is Pollack right here. Due to his career both in the United States and in Argentina, Pollack has been part of the elite of infectious disease specialists on the government's small consultation table since the start of the outbreak. That's right. Pollack is from Argentina, and he teaches at Vanderbilt University. Here's more about Fernando Pollack. From June 2017, he was a speaker or something at this International Congress on Pediatric Pulmonology. And we learn a little more about him here. He got his postdoctoral fellowship at Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins, of course, is one of the epicenters of the coronavirus stuff. It hosted Event 201 as well, which was the coronavirus pandemic planning exercise just before the actual pandemic broke out. So that's where he graduated from for his fellowship. He also directs a foundation in Buenos Aires called Infant Foundation, in which he coordinates a network of 26 hospitals in Argentina. This guy, Fernando Pollack, has a lot of access to sick babies and children. Who funds this foundation that he runs? Bill and Melinda Gates, the National Institutes of Health, Thrasher Research, Optimus Foundation, and other international organizations. Bill and Melinda Gates and the NIH fund this guy's foundation in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Swampy McSwamperson. But hey, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Let's just keep asking our public health officials if they could please give us an exemption for hockey arenas for kids. The kids need hockey. Why are you being mean? So as I said, Dr. Fernando Pollack works at Vanderbilt University. Here's the Vanderbilt Vaccine Center talking about opportunities for their med students to go down and work at this infant foundation. Look what they say here. This program will provide participants with the opportunity to conduct biomedical translational research or pediatric rotations at hospitals and medical centers in Buenos Aires. Opportunity to conduct biomedical translational research. Well, I know a lot, but I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up. In a research piece from somewhere, can't read that through my screen, sorry. They say this: the National Institute of Health has traditionally supported the training of basic and clinical scientists in a variety of disciplines. More recently, it has supported the training of scientists in translational research through the K30 and CTSA programs. In a recent announcement about applying for CTSA, the NIH offered the following definition. Translational research includes two areas of translation. One is the process of applying discoveries generated during research in the laboratory and in preclinical studies to the development of trials and studies in humans. So it's about human experimentation. Clinical trials on human beings. And remember, his foundation is all about babies and children in 26 hospitals in Argentina. And they're going to give medical students the opportunity to conduct biomedical translational research down there. Maybe where regulatory oversight is not so great. Although, is it so great anymore where we live? No, it isn't. Let's not kid ourselves. They just do whatever they want. They do whatever they want. Here's another little bit about translational medicine from, which is more up to date, because this definition was from back in 2011. I thought maybe the NIH had sharpened up or something? No, listen to this gobbledygook. Translation is the process of turning observations in the laboratory, clinic, and community into interventions that improve the health of individuals and the public, from diagnostics and therapeutics to medical procedures and behavioral changes. What? Translational science is the field of investigation focused on understanding the scientific and operational principles underlying each step of the translational process. You can tell they don't want to define this, don't you? Because they're doing self-referential definitions. See, now down here, bridging the gap, you get a little bit of a clue. They say there's several thousand diseases that affect humans and only about 500 have any treatment. A novel drug can take 10 to 15 years and more than $2 billion to develop, and about 95% of human studies fail. Okay, so now we understand. Translational medicine is human studies. Is Pfizer to be trusted for doing studies? No. Here's something from the Children's Health Defense, Robert Kennedy's blog. Pfizer says COVID vaccine safe for kids, but Pfizer has lied about kids and drugs before. In 1996, they tested a drug called Trovan in Nigeria. What Pfizer did was send unskilled workers to Kano, and they were unlicensed to practice medicine in Nigeria. The investigative journalist reported that the staff were so unskilled they could not place IV lines, and they quickly resorted to orally administering the drug to children. In the short 2 weeks Pfizer was in Kano, staff worked with 200 children and gave 99 of the children unlicensed Trovan, despite the children's desperate state. Pfizer did this even though Doctors Without Borders was operating in the same Kano hospital, treating children for free with medicine proven to work against bacterial meningitis. And what was the result of Pfizer's human trials in Nigeria? In all, 11 children died in the trial, 5 after taking Trovan and 6 after taking an older antibiotic used for comparison in the clinical trial. Others suffered blindness, deafness, and brain damage. These people are predators. Do you see what they did? Not only did they send inexperienced medical students who didn't even know how to use an IV down to Nigeria to administer these drugs, they also tried to cheat the clinical trial by using an older antibiotic for their comparison, their quote-unquote placebo group. I bet a lot of people don't understand that often the placebo is not a sugar pill like everybody thinks, but it's another drug. And so they make sure to use another toxic, poisonous drug to compare with their drug they want to report on. In this case, an older antibiotic. And actually, their little ruse would have worked if it weren't for those meddling kids. 6 people died from the antibiotic and 5 after taking Trovan. So you see what they would have been able to say if they hadn't gotten caught? Oh, look how safe Trovan is, especially compared to this antibiotic. Wow, it's so safe. They caused blindness, deafness, and brain damage in the people who didn't die. That's Pfizer for you. And I have to say, yes, that was a long time ago, 1996. You might think to yourself they've improved since then. They got caught, so they improved. I would argue that they got caught and they had to pay a lot of money, and they hated that. So what they did was they set up the Brighton collaboration, which was then used to define adverse events across the world. If it didn't meet the Brighton collaboration definition of an adverse event, it just wasn't an adverse event. And then, of course, that was taken over by the World Health Organization and now is in partnership with CEPI, overseeing all the adverse drug reactions definitions for the COVID-19 vaccines and for other vaccines going forward, I might add. And that brings me to my final section. What is Fernando Pollock doing now? Well, he's still working for multiple drug companies, including Pfizer. And he wrote this slideshow, which I'm going to show you a bit of. This is about RSV vaccines. What is RSV? It's respiratory syncytial virus. And according to the Mayo Clinic, in adults and older healthy children, RSV symptoms are mild and typically mimic the common cold. Self-care measures are usually all that's needed to relieve any discomfort. You should screen grab that right now or go to Mayo Clinic and get it yourself. Witness it for yourself, because I predict they will soon change the definition of RSV to similarly to the way they did with COVID-19. They're weaponizing the common cold with COVID-19, weaponizing a flu. Yes, I agree. Maybe something else is going on there. I do think that there's some kind of bioweapon involved. But in terms of why they're testing people, the symptoms are the common cold. People now can't deal with getting runny nose or sore throat. They think they've got COVID. That's what I mean by them weaponizing COVID. And it looks like they're going to do the same thing all over again with this respiratory syncytial virus, which is, according to the Mayo Clinic, a nothing burger, a big nothing burger similar to the common cold. Why do I think we should keep our eye on this? Because in Ontario, they fairly recently hired a new chief medical officer of health, and one of the first things he said was, look out, respiratory syncytial viruses are on the rise. We might need to mask children forever. That was one of the first things he said. Why would he say that? But further in Fernando Pollock's slideshow about his research into vaccines for the RSV, I find this. This isn't his study, he's quoting a past study from a long time ago. But it says that they've tried to make these vaccines before, and what happened was immunized infants experienced increased morbidity after subsequent RSV exposure, after they had been inoculated with these test vaccines. The study explains why the inactivated RSV vaccine did not protect the children and consequently led to severe disease, hampering vaccine development for 42 years. So they're still trying this. Or could it even be that some of those vaccines developed for RSV that didn't work, maybe those are the ones they're now using for coronavirus? Because vaccine companies really hate to let their research money go to waste. They really hate it. So they try to just scoot the drugs over for a secondary purpose, as they did with AZT for AIDS. Perhaps you've heard that was so poisonous and toxic they stopped using it on cancer patients, but they were happy to give the homosexual community doses of AZT. In fact, they whipped up a whole fake activist group to demand access to AZT. Similar to what they're doing now, if you ask me. There was another one. Oh, Remdesivir. Everybody calls it Remdesivir. I call it Remdesivir. Because I just like the word deceiver when we're talking about pharmaceuticals. That was supposed to be used for something else originally, and it was called, Ebola. And it was found to be extremely toxic as well. And now they're just using it on COVID patients who are in the ICU on ventilators. Is that a coincidence after all I've exposed about how the ICUs work? Or not? Yeah, so Pollock is involved in all these studies, and he's got in his PowerPoint presentation a little diagram of how many vaccines are in development right now for RSV vaccine. Look at all of these. Now, let's have a close-up. It's kind of hard to read. It was blurry in his presentation, but you can see Pfizer, Janssen, Beijing Advanced Biotechnology, GlaxoSmithKline, Merck, AstraZeneca, Sanofi. Here's another one from GlaxoSmithKline, a second from Janssen, NIH, and others. This one's really interesting, University of Saskatchewan. Why is that interesting? Because Saskatchewan's a province in Canada that just recently went as far as any other place I know of has gone, except Australia. My heart goes out to you in Australia. God bless you down there. Pardon. Help me. I need a vaccine. Give me some treatment. Give me some Remdesivir. The University of Saskatchewan is interesting because they've just enacted like some kind of almost martial law package in through their legislature, where they get to go into people's homes without warrants. They get to seize their property. They can even press you into service. They can make you work for them. It's very crazy. They are one of the entities developing a RSV vaccine. If the trials failed so badly in the past, and the RSV is only as bad as a common cold, why do we have this many vaccine candidates in the pipeline? Why would they waste their money? Unless the goal is not to make people well, but to make people sick or even kill them. Because remember what I told you off the top. The entire medical complex has been taken over by predatory vaccine companies and by so-called philanthropists whose main aim is global population reduction. Just put two and two together, people. Stop wondering why your public health officials are doing nonsense rules and changing their mind and flip-flopping and doing all sorts of dumb things like letting you sit to eat your meal without a mask, but insisting you put a mask on every time you stand up. We all know that doesn't make sense. We all know none of it makes sense. And so stop asking those questions. Start going after the players, the individual people and organizations behind this. It's the only way. You can't go after the notion of nonsense. You can only go after the actual fools. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Start putting the pressure on the individual people in your neighborhoods and your provinces and your countries. The individual people. As the commies would do. Wasn't it Saul Alinsky? He said, freeze it and personalize it and attack it. It's the only way. And I've tried to do that for you here. Let's just have a look at what I covered. This is the drug trial syndicate. This is how they get away with doing human experimentation live. This vaccine is admittedly in the phase 3 clinical trials as we speak. Live out there on your children and your parents and your husbands and wives and your sisters and brothers. Live. And how are they getting away with it? Aren't there overseeing bodies that are making sure that the vaccines are safe and that are keeping track of the vaccine adverse events? Sure. Yes, there are. And they're all captured by the World Bank, the United Nations, and the Rockefeller Foundation. Then they partner with the organizations that are making the drugs and the philanthropists who want global population reduction. Literally, this is one team. This is one team. Do you really think they have your best interest at heart? Or do you think this partnership is handy for covering up vaccine adverse events? Freeze it. Personalize it, I said. So I did. I picked Fernando Pollock and I investigated him, and we find out about his network of pediatric hospitals in Argentina, where Vanderbilt University is sending medical students with the opportunity, they say, for them to perform translational medicine. In other words, human experiments on the babies and children in these 26 hospitals. Who funds this? Bill and Melinda Gates and the National Institutes of Health. We know what translational medicine meant for Kano, Nigeria, when Pfizer went and tested their Trovan drug using medical students and inexperienced, unlicensed providers. I can't even call them providers, just people. They just sent some people over there and they stuck Trovan down the throats of these children, many of whom died. They don't care about you. And now Fernando Pollock, through his infant organization and his access to the babies, might be testing the RSV vaccines, the respiratory syncytial virus vaccines. And we saw how many are in the pipeline. They're going to aim this at the children again. Will it be a repeat of Trovan? Who knows? But all these people, all these drug companies and universities and research centers, they're betting that they can pull COVID-19 2.0 for another disease that causes symptoms like the common cold. If I sound angry and fed up, it's because I am. Honestly, I am. I am losing all faith in my fellow Canadians. Even the ones that are supposedly on our side, they refuse to look at the players. They refuse. I have tried. I have tried and tried and tried. They're great at writing, pithy tweets. They're great at putting together philosophical, pieces that say, should we really be doing this? No, we shouldn't. But how are you going to stop it? You can't put an idea in jail. You can put people in jail. So freeze it, personalize it, and let's get some of these monsters off the streets. Okay, thanks for listening, everybody. If you would like to support my work and maybe buy me some chill pills, just joking, you can go over to amazingpolly.net. That's where I have my contact information on the contact page. You can make a donation either through the digital payment form there or send me something through the mail. The P.O. box is listed right there for you. Please like this channel. Please subscribe. Please comment. Don't forget, I also have videos up over on More Polly. And what else can I tell you? I think that is it. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you all so very much. When I rage like this, it's present company excluded. You guys are the salt of the earth. You guys are the brains behind the operation. You guys are the heart and soul of this country, of the world. I love all of you. I'm just a little fed up with the game. All right. Talk to you soon. Peace out.